Family, welcome to today's show. It is Monday. It is October 27th. It is getting ready to be silly season. It is scary season. It's the open week. Thanks for joining me. Could I get a roll tide up inside the comment box? It is Halloween week. What's up, fam? I appreciate y'all being here. Thank you so much for joining me today. So much to talk about on today's show. My goodness, you can't even sleep without some sort of major news breaking. Yesterday, it was Brian Kelly being let go, so we'll discuss that and some potential options. I do not want to hear Coach Saban going to LSU, and I know everybody, is there only two coaches out there that people could talk about when someone gets fired? Is Lane Kiffin or Nick Saban? Just stop, okay? There's got to be other coaches out there that could take over for a job like LSU or Florida or soon Auburn too. But I appreciate y'all kicking it with me right here on Bama Football on YouTube. I like this part in the song right here when it drops. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. All right, let's do some AM shout-outs. Let's see where everybody's coming from inside the comment box on our Halloween special. All right, and as I mentioned to you, this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'll be taking a little vacation with my family, but still, content will be coming. So, Young C, I appreciate y'all being here. Thank you so much. Alyssa, what's up? Appreciate your call. As always on Fridays, good to see you inside the comment box. Max Tooney, good morning to you. Hey, Jimmy, what's up, man? He's saying roll tide. Mindy, Miss Careless, what's going on? Good to see you. Miss Amanda Jane, what's up? We got Max Tooney up in the house. We got Ruben pulled down in Dothan, Alabama. We got Broderick coming to us. We got Nick Bowling. We also have Ryan Paris coming to us. We have Miss Anita. What's up, Anita? Good to see you as well. Thank you so much for kicking it with us right here on Bama Football on YouTube. We got Arnetta. What's up? Who else? We got a good crew in today for this Halloween special. Crystal is up in the house as well. We got North Alabama Storm Chase. I love the graphics that you send in. Of course, let's see. If I don't put your name on screen, don't hold it against me. I love you guys. You know how I feel. It's just there's a lot of people on the show. Okay, we got Sean. What's up, Sean? Good to see you as well. And Andy 710 from Denver. All right. All right, fam. So look, yesterday. And as always, if you want to become a fan funder, you can hit this join button right here on your phone to become a fan funder of the program, which I really appreciate you guys giving me consideration in that regard. So thank you so much for always supporting me right here on Bama Football on YouTube. You know, I had a show or a video that rolled out in the morning time, and I'm thinking I'm kind of exploring that area. There's a lot of content, and sometimes when the content is heavy, I feel that kind of waking up and having something kind of playing in the background before even my live show might be a good space for me to get into. So there's always content from me, and I know you guys feel that I don't sleep. I do sleep. I do make time for my family, of course. But this is my job, and this is the space that I live in. So I appreciate you guys, and I go hard, I go heavy, and I think you guys know that. I'm all gas, little breaks. This is how I live my life, and this is the type of energy that I have all the time. I'm literally always go, 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 and that's just how I've always been. So I appreciate y'all supporting me. The Black Hoodie continues to do its thing. This past week in Alabama beat South Carolina 29-22. We'll discuss that more in length on the back end of the show. Gritty win. And as I said, this victory was super impressive to me. It was. I didn't wake up on Sunday and feel like, oh my goodness, doom and gloom. This team isn't playing this potential and all this stuff. I woke up and I was like, you know what? I really like how this team was able to win a game like that, because in life, so many different times you have any sort of adversity and people just fall. They just collapse, right? Things go wrong, you're done, right? You give up. No. Not when you have the talent of this type of team, not when you have the coaching of this type of team, not when you have the camaraderie of this type of team. So we will discuss that as well on the program. But where we start off today, and thank you very much for everybody that is up in the house, we start with Brian Kelly. So inside the comment box, what are you surprised that Brian Kelly was let go? And I asked that on a scale of shock value, 10 being really surprised, 6 not so much, 4 not at all. Because the way I'm looking at this is look, the expectations, look, you have to win. period. And you know how I felt about Brian Kelly for a long time, right? I felt that he's kind of like the James Franklin of the SEC. You had a really big program, a program that should be winning a lot of games, but just not delivering. When we go inside the numbers, and I always like to pop open the hood because I think that tells you kind of the real case of where things are at. Brian Kelly in 2022, he was 10-4, right? When he came over with the Southern accent. 2023 he was 10-3, right? 9-4, and then who knows what was going to be this season. So, look, are those like fantastic results? No, but they're not absolutely terrible. Now, getting beat like they did by Texas A&M wasn't pretty, and that Texas A&M team, we'll talk about them here in a little while, pretty good football team, right? So I think that what's interesting right now is, and I would love your feedback on this, the next coach who gets LSU, and we'll talk some hotboard ideas here in a little while, the next coach will probably get a 10-year deal at LSU for probably, I don't know, let's call it like $15 million or something like that. Probably be making a ridiculous amount, probably more than Kirk Cignetti, who's now making 11-6 at Indiana. So I don't know why college programs continue to go down this route, is to hire big-time coaches for an extended amount of time. Alabama is even one of them, and clearly it's working out for Alabama, but not for every single program. Signing a coach and kind of marrying yourself to one particular person in every evolving way of college football, it's dangerous. 10 years to somebody like this, and you're paying them that amount of money, and they're not delivering. Well, I'll tell you what. Look, in LSU and everybody else in college football, and I'll continue to say this, college football now is like the NFL, okay? In two regards. Number one, it's any given Saturday, but plus, if you're not winning, you're getting fired. So I would imagine that contracts maybe get shrunken down just a little bit in terms of what they're providing for these coaches. So, but the next coach that takes over LSU is going to be making probably the most money in college football, which is crazy to think. So, look, job didn't get complete over here at LSU. It's not horrible. And there's a lot of coaches out there. You're like, oh, well, he could do better. He has better numbers. And I get it. Look, everybody is obsessed with Lane Kiffin. And I have nothing against Lane Kiffin. I just want you to be able to look at the numbers when you think about Lane Kiffin. We like Lane Kiffin 1,000,000% for the 100th millionth time because he reminds us of Coach Saban, because he was here and he did a good job at Alabama, right? But when you look at his overall numbers, they're not that much more impressive than Brian Kelly, than James Franklin. They're actually kind of along the lines of James Franklin. That's why I think, like, with Lane Kiffin, every single job opens up. How many championships has he won? And I just want to, like, point out the facts. None of these guys have won championships. None of them. Whether it's Brent Key at Georgia Tech, whether it's Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, who's now a hot name, and somebody that Coach Saban just kind of recommended as a name that would be up there. But how many championships have these guys won? I'll wait. Right? So, and that's kind of the point out, is like Thomas inside the comment box is like, why is Lane Kiffin is always the guy? Because, and that's the thing. And like I said, I don't know him. I love him. I love the personality. The guy gets it, right? But in terms of like winning big games, when's the last big game that he won? When's the last championship he won? Right? He beat Georgia? No. Has he beat Coach Saban? No. Right? So it's interesting to think about, but he is the hottest name, period. Florida wants him. I'm sure LSU will give him a call. But I think the safe play for Lane is to stay at Ole Miss, win 10 games. If he makes it, he'll make it to the playoffs this year. And then that's great for Ole Miss for another 5 years. It's kind of like coaching at Indiana. I mean, you have to beat 2 ranked teams a year, maybe make it to the Big Ten championship game. I mean, that's easy. But I think Lane is more competitive than that. He's a younger guy. I do see a lot of competitive spirit in him, the way that he trolls other programs. So I would imagine that Lane probably gets a shot. But like I'm saying, he has a great setup there at Ole Miss. Clark Lee, what he's been able to do at Vanderbilt, I think, is interesting in the world of, NIL and transfer portal. They've done a great job, right? His overall record, I think, at Vanderbilt is only 23-24. So still under 500. But this year they are 7-1. And they do have an opportunity, and we'll discuss them in a little while as well, to go 11-1 in this season. You're like, what? It's going to be hard because they got a game against Texas this coming weekend. I don't care who's it might work out better if Arch Manning's not the quarterback at Texas, for Texas, right? And then they play Tennessee on the back end. I don't know if they can beat Tennessee on the road and Texas in the same year. That would be obviously very impressive. So Clark Lee, defensive-minded coach who does a really good job. He's done a great job at Vanderbilt. It's kind of been a short tenure, but I do feel that he's kind of one of those coaches on the next wave. And plus, Coach Saban said that as well. Brent Key over here to the right, Georgia Tech, he's a guy, another former assistant under Coach Saban. He coached the offensive line here. He's doing a great job at Georgia Tech, right? I mean, would any of these guys, could you see any of these guys going to LSU? So what I'm asking you for right now inside the comment box, who do you think gets LSU? Sound off inside the comment box. Other names that have kind of been mentioned or just thrown out: Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame, Kenny Dillingham from LSU, Eli Drinkwitz, Jimbo Fisher, Joe Brady, John Gruden. There's going to – look, LSU can pay whatever they want. They want to be Alabama. Everybody does. So I have no idea. But let me hear from you inside the comment box. Who do you think gets LSU? Go ahead and post your prediction inside the comment box. To be honest, I don't know. I really don't know. They're impatient. And in this day of age, you kind of have to be, but at the same point, don't sign somebody to where your buyout is like $60 million, right? So I see Max Tooney going with Freeman. Andy's going with Brett Favre, right? Can you imagine Brett Favre? How about Aaron Rodgers, right? Ed Orgeron, that would be interesting. What if Ed Orgeron really goes back to LSU? That'd be wild, right? Alex Golesh, I love that name. Alex Golesh at South Florida. He's done a wonderful job. I know they just got tripped up by Memphis, but kind of collectively over the last 3 years, what he's done at South Florida, it's been pretty interesting. Arnetta is saying Marcus Freeman. Wouldn't that be crazy if Notre Dame lost 2 consecutive coaches to LSU, right? I don't know. Freeman has a very high ceiling. He's nowhere close to where he's going to be. That guy's young. I don't know. I don't know if I go to LSU if I'm Marcus Freeman. I don't know why. It still seems like they can't get it together. I don't know. That's an interesting one. Pat Summerall, I guess. Mike and Austin is saying Coach Saban. All right. Look, these are the jobs that are open right now, okay? So kind of recapping some of these jobs. There's a lot of great jobs, like big-time jobs that are open. So you have Arkansas, you have Florida, you have LSU, Oklahoma State, Oregon State, Penn State, Stanford, UCLA, Virginia Tech. So some jobs all across the country. I do have to ask you, out of all the sites that you've read and, all your recruiting stuff, John Summerall. All right. I was like, I thought you guys were messing inside the comment box. So out of all the places that you've seen and all the sites that you've read and all this sort of stuff, right? Have you seen Ryan Grubb's name been brought up? Because I haven't. All right. And I think, Brian Hartline's a great addition. Elephant in the room. Appreciate that. Yeah. Great coach. Have you seen Ryan Grubb's name being mentioned? Because I haven't. And you kind of look at the boards and you kind of, let's talk about the elephant in the room, right? Well, Ryan Grubb, I think, is going to be a head football coach at some point in time. I have said that the better Alabama does, the more notoriety that Ryan Grubb is going to get. Okay. I haven't seen Grubb's name mentioned for any of these jobs. I think that Grubb would be smart. He's already showed that he's smart, right? He kind of set out that track one year for Alabama, and he came in this year was a much better setup for him. I don't know if I'm Ryan Grubb. Do I take Arkansas? No. Do I take Florida? No. Do I take LSU? No. Any of these other jobs, not even UCLA, I don't know. I kind of wait to see. If I'm Ryan Grubb, I'm waiting for USC, period. That's the only job that I'm waiting to see what happens with Lincoln Riley, and then I take over USC. That's the only job that I think kind of makes sense for him in kind of that regard in terms of going back west. I don't even know if he wants to be, coach back out west or whatever, but I do feel that he wants to be a head football coach. That's just my opinion. And I do have to say, after kind of my rewatch of this South Carolina game, the touchdown that he called was basically a screen to Jeremy Bernard, which was nasty work. He had Jeremy Bernard come around this other side, motion out, and then he threw a screen to him like we're always talking about. And then that 2-point conversion where he had Daniel Hill and Wildcat, that was nasty. That was like nasty work. So I adjusted his overall rating that I have. I think I had him at like a 7 initially. I went ahead and like bumped it to like an 8.2. The guy's nasty work. I mean, I think some of the run scheming, it makes me a little bit upset, and I kind of have a bone to pick with too much crispy. But other than that, the guy is like the best offensive coordinator that we've had in a long time, maybe since I've covered the team. And I covered Steve Sarkisian as well. So I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about Ryan Grubb. I mean, the guy just does something different for Alabama's offense. Now, I have to ask you, and just a yes or no inside the comment box, do you feel that Coach Saban at least is – do you think that Coach Saban coaches again in college football? Oh, Terrence wants me to – no. Maybe on like the video game, but not in real life. All right. So do you think yes or no, type Y for yes, type N for no inside the comment box. Do you think that Coach Saban will come back to coach college football? And I ask this, and it's exhausting that we live in this world because, look, even being a part of the Alabama ecosystem, there's 2 things that drive college football. Number 1 is Alabama football. It drives every single major YouTube channel, every single one, right? People can't wait to do a reaction or just talk about Alabama football. And the other thing that keeps Alabama football going is Nick Saban, right? Those are the 2 things. And when we had those 2 things here at Alabama, it was crazy because it was just the content was insane. It gets exhausting that people, and I've kind of come to realize this, and I was thinking about it last night, is people are, and just stay with me here. I think as sports fans, we're having a really difficult time letting go of people. For example, like Messi. Is he coming back for another year? We need him to come back. He's going to come back. It's like, it's just if the guy's done, he's done. Same thing with Coach Saban. He's done, right? Miss Terry, and I get it, but they're geniuses at working PR, okay? We love Miss Terry. We love Coach Saban, and everyone in college football wants him to come back. Why would he come back? Why would he come back? Okay, would he come back for $25 million a year? Do you know Coach Saban is just about to be a billionaire? And why would he come back and maybe fault not, what's happened with Bill Belichick has been terrible. I mean, his whole legacy, what he did at New England is kind of like overwashed by what's going on at North Carolina, right? And I know he has some off the field stuff or whatever with his girlfriend and all that stuff. But besides that, it's been terrible to kind of see for him. Coach Saban, he's living his best life, right? You kind of look to remember the, what was it, where we had Goofus and Gallant, and one guy did things wrong and one guy did things right? This is Gallant. Coach Saban is making probably what? $100 million a year, based off TV contracts and all his other sponsorships and stuff like that. You don't have to deal with the transfer portal. You don't have to deal with this age of entitlement. You can sit back and kind of, he's a huge Alabama fan. And we can't fault him for that. He is Alabama. Every time he's on game day, he's talking about, and I agree. He looks the best that he's ever looked. Can I agree? So I don't think he comes back. I do feel that there are some unique situations, like Alan says inside the comment box. Pete Carroll, right? What is Pete Carroll? Is he 77? Pete Carroll's, that guy is a beast. I love Pete Carroll. Is he 74? I thought he was a little bit older than that. He acts like he's in his 60s. The guy is another guy that's really good. So, in a long tenured coach, but I just don't think that Coach Saban comes back. I really don't. I know probably, there's other programs that want him, like anybody. Who wouldn't want Saban? I just think it's done, and they just have to let it go. But just caution yourself and kind of weather yourself to this, is you're going to hear Coach Saban all the time, because guess what? As soon as you say Coach Saban, people click it. As soon as you say Coach Saban, people watch it. As soon as you put Saban on a thumbnail on the TV, people watch it, okay? Because Coach Saban. Let me ask you this. Has your interest, and we're from, we're in the Alabama ecosystem, but have you watched Game Day now religiously on Saturday morning since Coach Saban has been added? Yes, of course. There are now businesses that just write articles all day off what Coach Saban says, because everything that he says is clickable, is watchable. And plus, he's the greatest, right? So I personally don't think that he comes back. It might be fun to kind of like poke the ball around, and Miss Terry, might say, hey, shoot us an offer for $50 million a year or something like that. But this guy, he's not hurting for cash, okay? He's a billionaire. He's close to being a billionaire, all right? So, and he's got a hell of a setup, and he does an amazing job. He's the best on game day. I know a lot of people have different opinions about Pat McAfee. I personally think that Pat McAfee is a great addition to the show with Coach Saban. Before that, it was a little bit bland. Those two together, their personalities, kind of how you have Pat McAfee, the wrestler, and then Coach Saban with his wisdom and his humor. I don't know why. Who would have thought that that's what we needed in our life in terms of like watching games before? And then you have Herb Street, who we trust, right? Desmond Howard, who's the man. It's a great setup. So I personally don't think that he comes back, but everybody is going to say Coach Saban again and again and again and again. So just get ready for it. And we'll never hear the end until like Coach Saban, I don't know, till he does something else. Here's a look at the AP Top 25, okay? So we have a lot of goblins and ghouls and, things going on here. So we'll kind of work our way from the top left, and then we'll go to the bottom, right? I don't know if I'll talk about every single team, but I'll definitely talk about the teams on the left. So starting out, you have Ohio State. They are 7-0, and we'll pop the hood. And I point out a lot of the times, and I'm not like an Ohio State hater. I just want everybody to be able to be knowledgeable when you're looking at Ohio State. And the college football playoff rankings, I think they come out. I said on my show that they come out this Tuesday. It's actually next Tuesday. So not this Tuesday, which I guess is next Tuesday. The Tuesday following this Tuesday, whenever that is. All right. So those will be the official college football playoff rankings. And then I don't know if we talk about the AP or, any of these polls anymore because you got the college football rankings. So Ohio State, to kind of put it in context, this team is great. They have a really good quarterback. You know who he is. Good weapons on offense, clearly. Their defense is kind of their cornerstone. 41 points allowed this season, which is very impressive in 7 games. Matt Patricia is their defensive coordinator. He came from the NFL. Great addition. Kind of the thing that stands out to me about Ohio State is I don't think that they've had the most challenging schedule. They beat Texas, and that's kind of one of their top wins when Texas was number 1 in the country. We have all seen how Texas is overall, right? A team that goes into overtime with Kentucky, a team that goes into overtime with Mississippi State. Mississippi State should have beat them, to be honest, right? The other win is against Illinois. So Illinois, I have no idea how Illinois climbed to the top 10 at one point during the season. Illinois, are they out of the top 25 finally? Oh, my God, thank goodness. You had to beat Illinois at least 5 times to knock them out. They're more challenging to knock out of the top 25 than Notre Dame. Notre Dame could lose another game, okay, and they would probably only drop to 15. It is the wildest thing I've ever seen. I don't know why we keep Notre Dame in there. I'll get to Notre Dame in a minute. Indiana is another team that got a lot of notoriety for beating Illinois. Illinois keeps like coming up. Why is Illinois such a marquee win for everybody? Can you guys help me understand this, please? Because I'm having a really hard time understanding why you beat Illinois and you shoot up in the rankings. Why can't we play Illinois, right? We should have played them instead of Wisconsin. Anyways, that's one of their best wins. And they went to Oregon and they took care of business against Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning is I think college football is obsessed with 2 coaches that are younger. They're obsessed with Lane Kiffin and they're obsessed with Dan Lanning. They just are. That's who college football loves. I think Dan Lanning is kind of, the way that he carries himself. He's the, alpha. He's tough. He's at Oregon, right? He says things. He, took off his shirt with McAfee. He's a younger dude. But what has he done? I'm serious. Like, how many championships has he won? So college football just respects Oregon, period. They're like, they got money. They got Lanning. They're good. Keep them up in the top 10. Look at Oregon's schedule. I'll bring it up for you. Who else have they beaten? It's not that impressive of a resume. Georgia Tech, 8-0 on the season. They've handled business. They're 8-0. It's hard to win 8 games consecutively. Brent Key, I think, is a name, as we discussed, it's probably going to be up there with, go somewhere else. I think, didn't he go to Georgia Tech? Someone told me that on the YouTube channel. We like Georgia Tech, but can you maintain that through the entire rest of the way? I would imagine, they have a great shot to make the college football playoffs. And I have to say, if you haven't seen this quarterback play at Georgia Tech, he is an absolute monster. Haynes King, have you seen this guy? All right, kind of going back up to the top, Texas A&M. We'll discuss them in just a minute. I have some things to say about A&M. Georgia, Oregon, Ole Miss. Georgia's a football team. For whatever reason, we don't talk about them. I don't know why we're not talking about Georgia. I thought that was a very good football team, and it was really, I think beating Georgia in Athens is more impressive than beating Oregon in Oregon. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm like SEC biased. I don't know. What's up, Boston? I see you inside the comment box. I don't know. I just think that if Georgia had a better quarterback, that team would be better. But they never have a dynamic quarterback. Never. I don't know why. If Georgia had Haynes King, that team might be unbeatable. If they had, Zachariah Branch, and Zachariah Branch had Cam Coleman, right? Georgia they have one receiver. Their quarterback is mid, if that. Their running backs are tough, of course, and they play good defense because Kirby. But if Haynes King was at Georgia, they just don't have a good quarterback. That's why Georgia will not win the championship this year. That's why Alabama will beat Georgia again. It will come down to the quarterback play. Gunnar Stockton is average. That's it. I'm sorry, Georgia fans, but that's the truth. He's just average. He's good in terms of what he can do, but overall he's average. Wasn't impressed with him at all. Ole Miss, this quarterback's pretty good, but Georgia beat them. It's because of defense and because of Georgia. Georgia came back. Georgia doesn't quit. But this quarterback for Ole Miss could certainly be a problem, right? Like we've been discussing, Lane Kiffin, can he win the big game? Can he get there? We'll talk about Ole Miss more in just a second. Vanderbilt, we'll talk about them in just a second because they have an opportunity to go 11-1. Miami and BYU and Notre Dame. Let me finish on these guys real quick, and then we'll kind of turn the page. Miami, we saw who they really were against Louisville. It was a team where Carson Beck showed that maybe he ate the rat poison. He played like he played last year. The amount of interceptions that he threw was crazy. 5 interceptions in a game. Never seen that before from a quarterback that was at one point favored to win the Heisman Trophy. That was a ugly loss. I get it. Louisville, wherever they're ranked. What are they ranked? 16? Okay. But with that said, Miami still wasn't penalized like I thought they would be. If Alabama would have lost to Louisville, Alabama would have been in the lower half of the 20s, right? So we'll see what Miami has now. The Malachi Tony, the receivers that they have, and some of the defensive components are good. That wide receiver, he might be the best wide receiver in college football. And I know we have one over here that is absolutely outstanding in Jerry Bernard, but that Malachi Tony, in terms of a playmaker, oh my God, that guy is a monster. Have you seen this guy play? He's crazy. He's so good. He's a freshman. You got BYU. BYU has not played anybody. BYU almost lost, should have lost to Iowa State on Saturday. They came back and won that game. Other than that, their best win is against Utah. They also went into double overtime with Arizona. Could you imagine if Alabama went into double overtime with Arizona, right? No, come on. And then who else? So the good news is BYU and Texas Tech play. The bad news is Texas Tech doesn't have their quarterback. He's done for the year, so is their best defensive tackle. So BYU is going to shoot up more because BYU is going to beat Texas Tech in Lubbock, I guess. Interesting. Someone asking, who did Louisville lose to? Let's see. Louisville football. I can bring it up real quick on this other side. Let's see. Is undefeated no before I do? They lost to Virginia in overtime. Virginia. Yeah, Virginia is undefeated in ACC play. Okay. So now here we are. This is my favorite graphic. I love these three little characters right here. I think they're hilarious. And by the way, what's your favorite Halloween movie? Go ahead and post that inside the comment box where I talk about the SEC. Favorite Halloween movie? You know what? I had to tell you, I grew up watching Charlie Brown. My dad, we'd sit around and we watch Charlie Brown. And you remember the Great Pumpkin, the pumpkin patch, where Linus would be sitting out there and he'd be waiting for the pumpkin. That's, it's like that's sometimes like a good analogy in life. Is like sometimes we're waiting for things to happen and it just never happens, right? So anyways, post your favorite Halloween movie. Ooh, 28 Days is an amazing movie. What do we got? Hocus Pocus, okay? Nightmare on Elm Street, Children of the Corn. Oh my goodness, yo, Children of the Corn is terrifying. Addams Family, hilarious. Night Before Christmas, oh, what a good movie. Hocus Pocus. You know what? I don't think I've seen Hocus Pocus, right? Who else we got? Oh, someone said Max said The Shining. The Shining, so I'm a big fan of like screenplay, right? I really love dialogue, like really good dialogue back and forth. That is the best. And The Shining, the opening scenes when he's interviewing for that job, yo, that is absolutely, that's one hell of a movie. Ebony Carter says, "What's up, Ebony? Hey, we saw your boy on the field the other night. I don't celebrate this holiday, and I can't wait till it's over." Okay, we'll be over shortly because once Halloween is done, it's done. All right. Okay, so back to the SEC. I started digging around, and if you follow the Facebook channel, I posted something that I think, the chances of this happening for at least 1, 2, 3, 4 of the teams out of 5 have high probability, in my opinion. So stay with me. Texas A&M, Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia, Vanderbilt. All those teams outside of A&M sit with just one loss, okay? And have been having a fantastic run this season. Texas A&M has their schedule set up really nicely for them to finish 12-0 and to get into the SEC championship. Minus, the rat poison games, college any given Saturday, but still, they're going to be favored the rest of the way. Same thing with Alabama, let's face it, okay? They take care of business, and I get it. You play LSU, and for whatever reason, a team plays better once you fire their coach. It's just the weirdest thing. Ask Arkansas, right? Penn State. Those teams play better after their coach is fired. So I wouldn't be like, hey, we're playing LSU without a coach. Don't think that way. Like, still, any given Saturday. But I'm just saying these teams are going to be favored in these games. Ole Miss, same thing. Their schedule is very favorable. I'm going to show you guys in a minute. And then Georgia, same thing. Vanderbilt probably has the toughest schedule out of those teams. All of those teams could finish out like this: 12-0, 11-1, 11-1, 11-1, 11-1. They do not. None of those teams play each other for the rest of the next 5 weeks or something like that. So those teams could finish like that. That just shows you the strength of the SEC. I would imagine, barring that Vanderbilt doesn't lose to Texas, Vanderbilt also plays Tennessee on the back end, that those are kind of your teams that have really high probabilities of making the playoffs at this point in time. Texas A&M, Bama, Ole Miss, Georgia, and Vanderbilt. That puts you with 5 teams, okay? Now, these teams right here are somewhat still alive. Like Texas, right? They're 3-1 in conference play. They're winning in overtime, but they still are winning, right? And Tennessee probably out, but they could upset Vanderbilt, for example. Okay, so let's pop under the hood and just kind of look at Texas A&M so I could further my point. So Texas A&M, let me ask you inside the comment box, which team could trip up A&M on the back end? And the back end is down here, okay? They take on Missouri. Now, as you know, Missouri just lost its quarterback, Bo Pribula. He's done for the year. South Carolina, they gave Alabama all Alabama could handle, right? Now, the game is in College Station, and for whatever reason, it will be like a completely different South Carolina team that plays A&M, right? Like, it just will. Like, A&M probably beat up on them, and they'll be like, yup, A&M is that team. It's just, that's how it goes. Then they got Sanford, and then they traveled to Austin to take on Texas. Maybe Texas finds its marbles at some point in the season, but it seems to me, high probability, yes or no, that Texas A&M finishes out 12-0 this season, right? Is there a team that could beat A&M on here? Yeah, coach says Tennessee not out. I mean, their losses are to Georgia and to Bama, right? So maybe they can get up in that 5 spot if they're able to beat Vanderbilt. So I do feel that you do have a point right there, but they do have 2 losses, right? But it seems to me like A&M, it's kind of the table is set for them to go 12-0. Watch this guy right here, Marcel Reed. This guy is a problem, okay? And quarterbacks that can run, this guy is as fast. He's very similar. I think Castellanos has a little bit more side to side than him, but this guy is like straight away fast. He's a problem. I mean, look what he's been doing in all these games. Last week against LSU, 202 passing, 108 rushing, right? So major problem. Mike Elko in his second year. It seems like A&M, the table's kind of set up for them to be 12-0, right? And kind of before I move on, look at the schedule, right? Someone points it out inside the comment box. That's James B. What's up, James? Says, wish we had that schedule. Yeah. You play, look at the ranked teams that they played. Notre Dame, LSU, Missouri, and Texas. So, you know, that's just how it goes. Alabama's had a much harder schedule, in my opinion. You play teams at different times. They're better at different times, but this isn't the most challenging schedule, in my opinion. Okay, let's look to Alabama. So, as you know the schedule. They're open this week, and then they take on LSU without a coach. You take on John Mateer, who should be healthy, Eastern Illinois, and Auburn. I still think outside of Vanderbilt, this is probably the most challenging back-end schedule right here. I think LSU, it's going to be hard. Look, teams play better when their coach is gone. This is a rivalry game. It's at home in high confidence level. I'm just saying, you can't go into these games sleeping, right? You just can't. And this team could punch you in they have weapons, okay? Oklahoma, that's an interesting game. Brett Venables has a really good defense. I would suspect that this defense is better than South Carolina's defense, right? And I would imagine that Ty Simpson is under duress in that game. Got to be able to stop John Mateer. Alabama's defense has been, and we'll talk about them in a minute, they've been balling out of control, right? But that game is at home. Alabama right now riding a 16-game winning streak at home, the longest in the nation, I think, with Boise State, right? And they're undefeated at home with Coach Kalen DeBoer. Those stats are kind of meaningless, but Bryant-Denny Stadium has been on fire. If you've been to Bryant-Denny Stadium lately, it's been absolutely chaos. Best atmosphere in the entire country, right? You have Eastern Illinois. So 3 consecutive road games after an open week. Are you kidding me? That's the perfect schedule. And then you go to the barn. And we all know, I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about how dangerous Auburn is. I don't care what their record is. I don't care anything else. Hugh Freeze has a running quarterback this year, and it's Jackson Arnold. And I know the defense has played better, and they face some great quarterbacks, and they're going to face 3 more quarterbacks that are super dynamic, right, for their kind of respective teams. But Jackson Arnold, this guy, he beat Alabama last year. And Hugh Freeze, every single one of these teams will give Alabama its best game, right? Hey, let's go save our season for Hugh Freeze, if he's there by that point. But Jackson Arnold, I'm telling you, stopping that guy with the Hugh Freeze system is going to be tough to do. I don't care how many games they've won or lost. All right, the big bad Georgia Bulldogs. I zoomed up this dog and I changed his cape to red. I think it's hilarious. All right, so Georgia right now, with just 1 loss on the season, 6-1, right? They have Florida, they have Mississippi State, they have Texas, Charlotte, and then they play Georgia Tech at the back end. It seems to me that Georgia also has a schedule where they could finish out 11-1. Now, Alabama has a head-to-head over them, but you see what I'm saying? A&M 12-0, Bama 11-1, Georgia 11-1. Which team could beat Georgia on here? Is there a team, fam, that you think could beat Georgia? I'll sit and wait. Is it Florida? Is it Mississippi State? Is it Texas? That game's at home. Charlotte's at home. Florida's at home. 4 out of their next 5 games are in Athens. All they got to do is go to Stark Vegas and survive, right? Yeah. Where are my dog people at? We fans of dogs? My dogs are sleeping downstairs, as always. So, okay, maybe we put Georgia, right? Georgia Tech. Yeah, it's got to be Georgia Tech. And correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't that game let's see. Was it Georgia and Georgia Tech in overtime last year, right? 2024. Let me look it up. Yeah, Georgia beat Georgia Tech last year 44 to 42. That game was in overtime. So, Georgia Tech, they'll probably be under. That would talk about a game to watch. If Georgia really is 10-1 at that point in time, and Georgia Tech is 11-0, man, that would be amazing. That'd be a great game to watch, just like it was last year. Okay, here we are with Ole Miss. Ole Miss has not played the most challenging schedule. They did beat LSU when LSU was number 4, right? Since that point in time, they dropped a game against Georgia in a game that was back and forth, and they did have opportunities against Georgia to win this game, right? They're a couple points away from being undefeated and maybe finishing out 12-0. Wouldn't that be something? You know, it'd be crazy. If Ole Miss wins that game and they win out here, Ole Miss, great opportunity. Look at their back-end schedule. Very favorable. They play South Carolina too, right? This next week they play South Carolina. And you got the Citadel, you got Florida. Those games are at home, and then you go on the road to play Mississippi State. These guys could have very well been 12-0 and been playing in the SEC title game against A&M. Now, that's kind of rat poison talk, but to paint the picture, you know, good chance that they're 11-1 or I don't see any of these teams beating them, to be honest. This will be an interesting game when he takes on Florida, right? The next team that he's coaching at. Does he coach both teams? I don't know. I guess we find out on November 11th, right? So I'm just kidding, by the way. All right, and then Vanderbilt. Now, this particular team, they beat Charleston Southern, Virginia Tech, South Carolina, Georgia State, Utah State, lost to Bama, LSU, Missouri. Those are the last games that they've won. Kind of looking at their schedule, they could very well finish 11-1 as well. I think beating Texas on the road, man, that would be, if Clark Lee is able to beat Steve Sarkisian, my goodness, he's going to get whatever he wants from Vanderbilt or for whoever else. Do we have a status update on Arch Manning? Is Arch Manning going to play? I know he was concussed in this last game. Maybe it works better that Arch Manning isn't playing. The backup quarterback didn't look too bad. So we're probably not going to know about Arch Manning until game time. But for whatever reason, in this world of college football, if you have a concussion and you're kind of like a second or third team player, you're out. But if you're needed, you're playing. You know what I'm saying? CJ says, hold on. Only 3 away games for Georgia is crazy. Do they only have 3 away games? Let's see. They went to Tennessee. They went to Auburn. What the? This is crazy. Wait, so Georgia only had 3 away games? How is that even possible? Let's see. At Tennessee, at Auburn. What? This is weird. I didn't even notice that. How can that be fair? College football is weird, man. All right, so Vanderbilt, I think kind of looking on their schedule, if they can beat Texas, right, then they take on Auburn, okay? Auburn's played everybody close. Take Kentucky, and then you play to Tennessee. And as Coach Smith said inside the comment box, he still thinks Tennessee's in there. I personally think Tennessee and Vanderbilt would be one hell of a game. I probably pick Vanderbilt in all these games outside of Tennessee. Tennessee is a team. It's interesting. You know what? Tennessee has lost 2 games to Georgia and to Bama. And if you ask Tennessee fans, okay, they probably feel that they could beat Alabama and Georgia. They probably feel that way, honestly. They just, they couldn't close the door against Georgia in that overtime game. They had a chance to win. They missed the field goal. And against Bama, they shot off their feet again and again. So they had opportunities, though. So anyways, my point is, look for A&M 12-0, Bama 11-1, Georgia 11-1. It's kind of all rat poison to zoom out, but as I showed you, it seems favorable for those teams to win all their games, right? I mean, the probability of that, it does seem a little bit high. Okay, as you know, this video is powered by our good friends at Sleeper. You can use the promo code, which is tailgate, get a $100 deposit match up to $100. Fun to do. You can make more or less picks on Saturday for college football or for NFL, like I did yesterday. And I have to tell you, I've been getting pretty good at utilizing Sleeper. Last week, I had a nice cleanup using fantasy points to win, and yesterday had a nice little score as well, as I went with DK Metcalf over 40 yards, Jalen Hurts over 150 yards, May right here over 200 yards. James Cook he only with 50 yards. Yo, this might be one of the most underrated running backs in all of the NFL, okay? CeeDee Lamb only 50, come on. And then Jamar Chase, 6 receptions. Yo, I knew he was going to catch for like 15. So nice little cleanup up yesterday watching the NFL. And if you use Sleeper, and I'll tell you my parlays too. I'll be open with you. I'll tell you what I'm going to do going into each week. And the promo code is tailgate, and you can roll with the parlays like I do. It's really fun to do. All right. As you know, Bama beat South Carolina. You guys comfortable? Is everybody okay? You guys checking in? I know it's an open week, but there's plenty of football to talk. Is everybody doing okay? I just want to check in. We've been here for 45 minutes. You guys doing okay? You guys need a break or anything? You guys good? Everybody okay? Thumbs up? Thumbs up, we rolling? Okay. Bama beat South Carolina 29-22. I love this win. I thought it was a gritty win. I thought it was a frustrating game. I thought it was a game where you face adversity. I thought it was a game where you had to play from behind on the road against a quarterback who was an absolute menace, okay? And Alabama was able to come from behind. You're down by 8. Game's on the line. You're going to sulk or you're going to come back, right? You come back. You show fight. It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or by a mile. Who said that? Sound off inside the comment box. They won this game, 29-22. The defense, a defense that's been criticized, right, in the beginning of the season, has been able to hold the rope in a game like this. I thought it was impressive that the defense didn't allow a touchdown on 2 long sustaining drives by South Carolina. I thought that was one of the biggest parts of the game. As you know, Alabama has been able to come up with 8 interceptions this season, and they have a turnover differential of, I think it's +9, which is 6th in the country. So the defense is coming through. Talk a lot about the swarm defense coming up with turnovers. They're doing that this year. They won on the road. It's challenging to win any time in the SEC, right? Alabama doesn't have Georgia's schedule where they only have 3 away games. Alabama has gone on the road. Florida State, gone to Georgia, they got to Missouri, right? They got to South Carolina. Those are difficult places, difficult environments, major college football venues, and you've been able to win those recent games on the road at Missouri, at Georgia, at South Carolina. Alabama could not win those type of games last year. They're winning them this year, right? And I have to give a shout out to our special teams. Blake Dowd, the punter, he had 5 punts for 255 yards. I wish that we could better, think about how notable that was. That was crazy. Like, the work that Blake Dowd did, I know a lot of people are like, special teams, if you don't have a good special teams, you're done. You're finished, okay? And I know the kicker right now, Connor Talty, anything outside of 40 is a little bit shaky. But in terms of the punting, in this particular game, he's flipped the field 5 different times. He had a punt that went for 60 yards. His average was 55 yards per punt. That's like, to be honest, that's better than like a J.K. Scott. Now, it's one game. You have to be consistent, but that was certainly impressive. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to our boy Blake Dowd. All right, couple takeaways following the game. Coach Kalen DeBoer said this. He's like, it doesn't matter how you win. It's not going to be pretty every single time, 100%. Just win. Doesn't matter. You look to Brian Kelly and you look to his stats where people are like, well, how much did he win by? No, it's losses. Wins and losses is what this comes down to, period. It doesn't matter. You're going to be mad if Alabama wins the SEC championship or the national championship by, 3 points. You don't care. Alabama beat Georgia by 3. Don't care. Alabama beat Missouri by 3. Don't care. You won, period. Plain and simple. You won. Doesn't matter, okay? David from Louisiana, what's up, man? Good to see you. It says average of 55 yards a punt. Yeah, thank you for that. Check out this stat on the right. Trailing 22-14, this is from Alabama. With 10 minutes remaining in the final quarter, Alabama's defense surrendered just 32 total yards and outgained the Gamecocks 117-2, while outscoring them 15-0 the rest of the way. That is an amazing stat right there. And that just shows you, that the team has fight, that the team didn't give up. Ty Simpson following the game said, look, it's hard to win in the SEC. 1,000,000%, Ty. I've been saying that, dog. I'm not going to depreciate it. It was a weird game. 100% it was. But a win is a win. Ty Simpson, after South Carolina. He continued. He said, look, this is what we're built for. And he's referring to Ryan Grubb talking to Ty about that late game drive where Ty goes 14 plays, 79 yards, puts it in the end zone. This is what you dreamed about. Yo, that drive was stellar. And I kind of look back on what Ty Simpson did in that particular game. It was rough. 1 of 9 on deep balls is not impressive. That's a struggle bus. South Carolina was holding, but, I mean, some of those balls, he just wasn't accurate, as we've seen him, right? Balls were off, this and that. I thought South Carolina should have had a couple interceptions, to be honest, but the guys just couldn't catch the ball. With all that said, Ty's able to focus. 14-play drive, game's on the line. You drive your team down the field, and you put it in the end zone. And I thought that was a gritty performance. And come to think about it, you kind of start to look at, like, Heisman-type moments, and I know that's another, like, kind of rat poison element. But I thought that particular drive when the game's on the line, down by 8, on the road, I think that drive is going to be brought up a lot because he fought through adversity in a game where he was only 56% on the season. The guy's 70%. And you talk about game-winning drives, he did that, and that was super, super impressive to me. Alabama is certainly battle-tested, right? You look at what they've been able to do over the last 5 games. Beat Georgia on the road, beat Vanderbilt, beat Missouri, Tennessee, and South Carolina. This team is absolutely battle-tested. Following Indiana's victory over UCLA, right, and we've been discussing that, Indiana fans were chanting, and I saw this, it's on College Football Fox, they were chanting, "We want Bama. We want Bama." I think you have to be careful what you ask for, right? Because Indiana, I think, has a pretty good football team. And their quarterback, I think we all have said time and time, every time we talk about Fernando Mendoza, we like him. Yo, he's a good quarterback. 25 touchdowns on the year, 2 interceptions. Love it. There's a difference between like being battle tested and playing kind of like a soft schedule. Remember, anybody watch The Office? Remember when Daryl told Michael Scott that he lived like a soft, squishy, Nerf ball type life? Well, that's kind of the life that I feel Indiana is living. And there's a huge difference from playing the week-to-week grind than coming to the SEC. Now, I guess the argument for the Big Ten would be, yeah, you can say all that, but the last 2 national champions have come out of the Big Ten. Well, okay. Well, then let's just let the chips fall where they are, and hopefully these 2 teams can meet each other. I would love nothing more than to see Alabama play Indiana once and for all, okay? Because it seems like Indiana's kind of been there the last couple years, and they didn't play well in the playoffs last year. They did make the playoffs. But I think that Indiana fans would learn quickly that, you know, to be careful what you ask for, because this particular football team, they still have room to grow. And, you know, I think Alabama would probably do bad things to Indiana, to be honest. So Drew was asking inside the comment box if Ty is still the front runner for the Heisman Trophy. Well, let's bring it up right now. We'll look at FanDuel. I can bring it up real quick on the other side. Let's see how fast I can do it. Go to odds, and we will look at Heisman. Bring it up to the screen, and here we go. That's pretty fast. What's up, Drew? Good to see you, bro. So I might have to do this. Still a little, and then I'll go full screen. Thumbs up for the editing, too. I don't have no fancy editor. This is just me, like, doing things like an octopus back here. I'm doing all the graphics. Everything that you see is all happening behind the screen, okay? I don't have no fancy editor. It's just me just pushing buttons, right? You ever seen, like, The Wizard of Oz or, like, wondered what was going on back there? Basically the same thing, okay? And right now I'm like, damn, how do I get to the other screen that I was talking about? But here's the Heisman odds right here. Fernando Mendoza, guy we were just talking about, plus 260. You got Ty Simpson at 350. You have Julian Sane plus 440. Marcel Reed, a guy I was talking about. And you know what? Diego Pavia. Diego Pavia, yo, he's coming up. And the story of him, it rattles a lot of people, right? But I think the guy's winning. If this guy continues to win, if he's able to win some big games late in the season, I don't know. Who knows, okay? So, kind of back to the point, Indiana chanting, "We want Bama." I don't know if you do. have some player ratings, and I showed this on a video earlier. Not sure if you saw this. I won't spend too much on this, but Justin Jefferson, my goodness, what a performance against South Carolina. I gave him an 8.7. He had a quarterback sack. He helped Deshaun Jones stay on his feet. He was everywhere. It felt like playing at a very high level, super athletic inside linebacker. So glad. Actually, you can thank Diego Pavia for Justin Jefferson coming back because he should have been gone. Right? But it was when Diego Pavia fought the NCAA for another year from junior college that Justin Jefferson was kind of a part of that, and he came back. So thank you, Diego, for having Justin come back. Because this defense, I feel, is different without Justin Jefferson, right? Like, who's the next really athletic inside linebacker that Alabama has? I'd probably say like Daryl Duke Johnson, but he's not there yet, right? Deontay Lawson, the guy played big. Captain played great in a big-time game, came up with that strip. He also had 7 total tackles in this game. Deontay Lawson played outstanding. That strip was just a heads-up play, and that's why he'll be in the NFL. I still feel like Deontay Lawson could get a little bit healthier. It doesn't seem like I would imagine he's like 90% or something like that. But played big, and Tim Keenan coming up with the fumble recovery was one of the best plays that we've seen so far this season. Ty Simpson, I have him at a 6.8. Didn't have the best performance, 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Most importantly, he did take a sack where he dropped the ball. I think he's had 3 fumbles in the last 3 games, but it was still a gritty performance, and I almost gave him a 7 because of how Alabama played in that final drive, right? Ryan Grubb right here. I have to say, after kind of doing my rewatch, some of the plays that Ryan Grubb called were just incredible. I mean, the touchdown that Ty threw to Jeremy, it was a wide receiver screen, but Jeremy Bernard was used kind of as a running back. Go watch it on the rewatch. It was amazing. And then the 2-point conversion, when he had Daniel Hill as a Wildcat, handed off to Ty. Ty comes in. He could have pitched it. He had several different options. Ty Simpson could have pitched it back to Ryan, or he could have threw it, right, which he did, to Josh Cuevas. So absolutely stellar play calling in crunch time. I have been very adamant and very vocal about a couple things that I don't like about some of the play calling. And one, I feel the scheming for the run game isn't optimal. I feel that sometimes he runs the football on odd downs. It seems kind of predictable at times. Alabama still only ran for 72 yards. I don't think it's a running back problem. I think it's kind of a more scheming and an offensive line deal for the Alabama offense. And then I feel that I don't want to see any more Krispy Kreme running the ball. One hit to Krispy Kreme and you're done. Right? I mean, you don't want to play your next 8 games without Caden Proctor, do you? Is it worth it for a 2-yard touchdown? I don't think so. So, Grubb, the gadgets are cool, and I'm fine with them, and I think, he probably has a 70% hit rate on his gadget plays, but I think in terms of like the crispy stuff, we got to protect Ty. We got to, and you can't protect Ty if Caden Proctor's, in a boot. So, it was cool while it lasted, but in terms of the go-go Grubb's gadget, maybe slow it down on the crispy. That's just my thoughts, all right? So that's kind of where we stand today for today's show, and kind of a good ending point talking about Ryan Grubb and kind of this Alabama offense. And I think kind of as you rewind and you look to Alabama's next upcoming games, and I'll tell you what to expect for the rest of the day going forward, it's going to be challenging, but this open week comes at such a perfect time. I think it gives them time. The football team is off today. They're off Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they'll practice. I think they might practice Wednesday or Thursday. They're kind of back in action, and then they're off again Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They're giving them some good downtime so they can rest, recover, and, of course, those guys are in the film room and, all that sort of stuff. But it comes at a perfect time right ahead of 3 home games. And all you got to do is keep winning. So, it's worked out well. It's good to see a lot of those W's on the screen because I think kind of rewinding to the beginning of the season, we weren't sure, what was going to happen. I think there's a lot of people that kind of threw this team out. There was a lot of, fandom that felt that DeBoer wasn't the guy. That's been the furthest thing from the truth. He's continued to show that he's the right guy. He continues to evolve as a coach. When he puts that black hoodie on you don't mess with them. And the black hoodie is certainly a thing. So that's kind of the show today. And of course, I'll give you the quick schedule for the rest of the week. I will have regular content, right? And my regular shows, probably even some nightcaps. I don't stop, but I am going out of town Wednesday to Sunday. But as you know, I'll take my stuff with me, so I will still have a show and, kind of news, but I will be on a break myself with my kids from Wednesday to Sunday. So, how you got kids. And I think, as we always know, like, time is fleeting with your kids. So it's really important to spend time with my kids. Lacey is going to be 13 soon, and Kaden will be 17 in December. So kids are getting up there. Pretty amazing. For those of you that are also parents out there, right? Time is always flying. So anyways, thanks for kicking it with me today right here on Bama Football on YouTube. We'll do the outro, and away we go right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Please follow our Facebook page where we post a lot of, updates. It's kind of like my website, I guess, right? I think we have almost 70,000 fans on there, right? All right, now for the outro. And I like the Halloween music. You guys feeling it? All right, fam, thank you so much for watching today's show right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Stay blessed. Stay where your feet are at. Happy Halloween week to you. And as you know, the news don't stop right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Love you, fam. See you next show. See you next video right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. All right. See you, fam. Love you.